The mansion was full of bright lights and music. Expensive cars lined the driveway, and the air smelled of rich food and strong perfume. Inside, men in suits laughed loudly, raising glasses filled with golden wine. Women in long dresses talked about stocks, contracts, and more money than most people would ever see. Everyone was there to celebrate one thing: a new contract worth $500 million. Near the corner of the grand hall, a maid moved quietly with a silver tray. She was small and tired, her hands rough from endless work. Behind her, a boy no older than 10 stood close, his big eyes scanning everything. His clothes were simple, plain shirt, worn shoes, but his mind was sharp. This was his mother's workplace, and he often waited here while she cleaned or served. Tonight, the party felt different, louder, richer, almost too perfect. The boy's gaze stopped at a table covered with papers and golden pens. He stepped closer, pretending to look for his mother. The papers were strange. There were thick folders, signatures, and a big red stamp at the bottom of the last page. It read "Final Contract." Something about it felt wrong. The letters looked slightly faded, the stamp was crooked, and one company name had 2 spellings in different places. He frowned. "Stay here. Don't touch anything," his mother whispered as she passed by with another tray. He nodded, but his mind was not quiet. The boy had seen his mother struggle to pay rent, to buy food, to keep him in school. And here, people were throwing money around like it was dust. His heart beat faster. Then he heard it, a conversation behind the curtains. 2 men spoke in low voices. "They won't notice a thing. The signatures look real enough. By tomorrow, the funds will be in the offshore account," one man said. The other laughed softly. "Easy money. 500 million, gone, and they'll think it's their fault." The boy froze. Offshore account? Gone? He glanced again at the contract. Was this what they were talking about? He stepped back, his small shoes making no sound on the thick carpet. His mother passed again, this time her face tight with stress. He tugged her sleeve gently when no one was looking. "Mama," he whispered, "this contract is wrong." She stopped for a second, startled. "What?" He pointed to the table, to the stamp. "It's fake. They are talking about stealing money." Her face turned pale. She shook her head quickly. "No. Stop. Don't talk like that. These people, they are powerful. We are nothing. Do you want me to lose this job?" The boy felt a lump in his throat. "But Mama, it's not right." She put her finger to his lips. "Hush. Not here. Go wait by the kitchen." He obeyed, but his mind kept turning. From the doorway, he watched the party go on. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked, fake smiles filled the room. He saw the man with the crooked tie, the same one who spoke behind the curtain, raise his glass to the crowd. "Tonight," the man said loudly, "we change the future. This contract will make everyone rich." The boy clenched his small fists. "No, it would make them thieves." A thought grew inside him, small at first, then stronger: if he stayed silent, many would suffer. The contract was not just numbers on paper. It would destroy people, workers, families, maybe even children like him. He looked at his mother again. She was moving from table to table, head down, pretending not to hear the lies. She was afraid. But he was not. Not yet. The boy waited until no one was watching. Slowly, he walked to the table again. He pulled a small pencil from his pocket, he always carried one for drawing during long hours of waiting, and scribbled 3 words on a paper napkin: "This contract is wrong." He folded it quickly and slipped it under a glass near the edge of the table. Then he stepped back into the crowd, heart racing. Somewhere in the room, a local journalist was taking pictures for the newspaper. Her eyes moved across the table, then stopped at the napkin. She picked it up, read the words, and frowned deeply. The boy held his breath. The music was still loud, but for him, the world had gone silent. Would she understand? Would anyone believe a maid's boy? In that moment, the boy made a decision. He would not look away. He would not be silent. Not tonight. The night grew louder as the party went on. Crystal glasses clinked, fake laughter echoed against the marble walls, and the rich men stood taller, thinking they were untouchable. But in one corner of the hall, a boy sat on a cold step, clutching his knees, his heart still racing from what he had done. The small napkin with his words, "This contract is wrong," was no longer on the table. The journalist had taken it. He peered through the gaps between the guests. The journalist was a woman with sharp eyes and a small camera hanging from her neck. She looked at the napkin again, then at the table with the contract. Her brow furrowed. Something had caught her attention, but she stayed calm, as if nothing had happened. She slipped the napkin into her pocket and walked away slowly, pretending to admire the chandelier above. The boy felt both relief and fear. Relief, because someone important had seen his warning. Fear, because now it was real. If they found out he wrote it, they would not forgive him. His mother came to him, wiping her hands on her apron. Her face was pale and tight. "Why are you sitting here? Did anyone see you near the papers?" He shook his head quickly. "No, Mama." But the journalist saw it. She read my words. His mother closed her eyes for a moment, whispering under her breath. "Dear God, what have you done?" "I only told the truth," he said softly. "You always say truth is stronger." She crouched beside him. Her hands trembled as they rested on his shoulders. "Truth is strong, yes. But truth is also dangerous when rich men own the law." Before she could say more, a servant called her. "Maria! They need more glasses." She stood up quickly and went back to work, leaving the boy in the shadow of the staircase. He felt small, but inside him a fire was growing. Across the hall, the journalist had begun to take pictures of the contract table. Flash. Another flash. Then, as if by accident, she bumped into a waiter and whispered something to him. The boy watched closely. She was not leaving, she was circling the room like a quiet hawk. Hours passed. The party showed no sign of ending. The boy's stomach growled, but he ignored it. His eyes stayed on the contract and the people guarding it. He saw the crooked tie man again, this time speaking on his phone in a corner. Yes, the signatures are done. Funds will move by morning," the man said, his voice low but sharp. "No, they will not know. It's all under shell companies. By the time anyone checks, the money will be ash in the wind." The boy's heart thudded. He slipped behind a column, holding his breath. He had an old phone in his pocket, a cheap one his mother gave him only for emergencies. Slowly, carefully, he pressed the record button. The man kept talking, bragging about the offshore channels and ghost investors that would vanish by sunrise. Every word was a nail in their scam. When the call ended, the man walked away, unaware that a boy had just recorded the key to his destruction. The boy looked at his phone. The recording was shaky, full of background noise, but the words were there. It was enough. He wanted to run to his mother, to show her, to tell her that maybe they could stop this. But he saw her face across the room, tired, afraid, begging him with her eyes, "Stay quiet." He felt his small fingers curl into fists. Later that night, when the music softened and some guests began to leave, the journalist made her move. She slipped out the side door, her camera bag heavy. The boy followed her quietly, like a shadow. Outside, the air was cold and smelled of rain. Cars hummed on the wet road. The journalist stood near her car, unlocking the door. The boy stepped out from the dark. "Miss," he whispered. She turned sharply, her hand on her bag. "Who's there?" "It's me, the maid's boy," he said. "I wrote that note." Her eyes widened. She looked around quickly, then crouched to his level. "Did you see something?" He nodded. "I heard them. They are stealing the money. The contract is fake. I have proof." He showed her his phone. She listened to the recording with growing alarm. This could bring them down," she whispered. "But they won't stay quiet if they find out you have it." I don't care, the boy said. His voice was small, but his eyes were steady. They are lying. My mother says to stay silent. But I can't. Too many people will lose everything. The journalist took a deep breath. All right. We have to do this carefully. Meet me tomorrow night, same place, behind the servant parking. I'll bring someone who can help. Okay, the boy said. She handed him a small card. If anything happens, call this number. Don't talk to anyone else. Not even your mother. It's safer that way. Before he could ask why, headlights flashed. A black car rolled past slowly. Inside, a man in a dark coat watched them. The journalist grabbed the boy's arm. Go, she whispered urgently. Now. He ran, his heart pounding. Behind him, the car slowed, then stopped. Someone was taking a picture through the tinted window. The boy reached the back door of the mansion, slipped inside, and pressed his back against the cold wall. His hands shook, but his mind was clear now. There was no turning back. Somewhere in that mansion, men were celebrating their fake victory. But outside, a small voice had started a storm. The next morning, the mansion was quiet. The music was gone, the rich men had left in their shiny cars, and only the staff moved through the halls like shadows. The boy sat in the small kitchen, staring at the cold bread on his plate. His mother worked silently, her face still pale from the night before. She had not asked him about the napkin, the recording, or the journalist. But her silence was heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Eat, she said softly. You have school. I am not hungry, he whispered. She looked at him then, eyes sharp. You did something, didn't you? Tell me the truth. The boy hesitated. I gave her the proof. The journalist. She said she will help. His mother's hands froze on the table. Oh no, my son, you don't understand. These people, they do not forgive. They have police, lawyers, friends in every office. If they know you told, she stopped, her voice breaking. They will not only fire me. They will destroy us. He stared at his plate. Then should we stay silent? Let them steal from everyone? She closed her eyes. Tears threatened to fall, but she held them back. Sometimes silence keeps you alive. The boy didn't answer. His small hand touched the phone in his pocket. The recording was still there. It felt like a heavy stone. By afternoon, whispers began to spread in the mansion. The journalist had posted a small article online, nothing big yet, just a question: who profits from the new contract? It was enough to make some people nervous. The crooked tie man stormed into the hall, his voice sharp as a blade. Who has been near the documents? Who touched them? His eyes scanned the workers, the guards, the maids. They stopped for a moment on the boy, then moved away. Too small, too harmless, they thought. But the boy felt the man stare like ice on his skin. That evening, a new rule was whispered among the staff: no one talks to the press. Phones were checked. Bags were searched at the gate. The boy clutched his phone tightly in his pocket. He knew they were getting closer. That night, rain fell. The boy slipped out quietly, his hood up, shoes wet with mud. He reached the dark corner of the servant parking lot. The journalist was already there, waiting in her car. The engine was off, but her eyes were awake and sharp. You came, she said as he climbed in. I said I would. She showed him her laptop screen. There were more documents now, copies of the contract, names of fake companies, even a bank transaction list. Your recording helped. But we need more. We need the final signed version. Without it, they will say we are lying. The boy bit his lip. It's in the safe in the main office. I saw them lock it yesterday. The journalist nodded slowly. Then that's where they'll protect it. And that means they are scared. He handed her another napkin. On it, he had drawn the office layout from memory. The journalist looked impressed. You're braver than most grown men I know. The boy shrugged. I just don't like thieves. Before they could speak more, a noise made them freeze. A shadow moved near the back gate. A man in a long coat stood there, umbrella in hand, pretending to smoke. But his eyes were fixed on the car. The journalist whispered, "They're watching." The boy's heart pounded. What do we do? Act normal. Get out slowly. Don't look back. He opened the door, stepped into the rain, and walked away as if nothing had happened. The man in the coat did not follow, but the boy felt his gaze burning into his back. The next day was worse. The mansion buzzed with tension. Guards whispered into radios. New locks were placed on doors. And then the blow came, a theft accusation. 2 men in suits entered the kitchen with cold smiles. "Maria, we found missing items from the storeroom. Gold cutlery, a few watches. Do you know anything about this?" His mother's face turned white. "No. I would never." One of the men leaned close. "Then maybe your boy does. He likes to wander." The boy stepped forward, fists tight. "She didn't steal anything. You're lying." The man's smile widened. "Children should stay quiet." They left a paper on the table. It was a warning, next time, it will be the police. His mother grabbed his shoulders after they left. "Do you see? They are setting us up. They know. Stop this now." The boy looked into her frightened eyes. "If I stop now, they win. Everyone loses." She covered her face with her hands. "God protect you, my son." That evening, the journalist sent him a message from a secret number, "Be ready. We are going to publish more tonight." The boy sat in the dark servants' hallway, waiting. Outside, thunder rolled. His phone buzzed again, this time a picture message. A photo of him, standing near the journalist's car, rain falling on his hood. He felt his blood run cold. Someone was watching that night. Someone had proof. And now they knew exactly who he was. He turned to see his mother standing behind him, her face pale as ashes. "What is that?" He showed her the picture. She covered her mouth in shock. "They will come for us," she whispered. The boy took her hand. "Not if we move first." Somewhere in the city, in a small newsroom with flickering lights, the journalist pressed send. The leak went out to 1,000 inboxes, dozens of reporters, and one union lawyer who had been waiting for a chance to bring the scammers down. The story was still small. But the storm had begun. And in the shadows of the mansion, a black car started its engine. Morning came heavy and gray. Clouds pressed against the mansion windows, and the air smelled of rain and fear. The boy sat at the edge of his small bed, tying his worn shoes, while his mother moved nervously around the room. She kept looking at the door, as if expecting a knock that would change their lives forever. "They know something," she whispered. "Last night, I heard them. They said the leak came from inside." The boy said nothing. His phone was hidden deep in his pocket. The journalist's messages were still there, telling him to stay calm, to stay quiet, to wait for the right moment. But he could not ignore the sound of cars arriving outside, one after another, black and heavy like thunder. By noon, the mansion was crawling with men in suits and guards with sharp eyes. The crooked tie man stood in the center of the hall, barking orders. Papers were moved, safes locked, phones checked again. This time, even the staff were lined up. "You all work here," the man said, his voice smooth like poison. "So you are responsible for what happens here. Someone has been speaking to outsiders. Someone is trying to destroy everything we have built." No one spoke. The boy felt his mother's hand tighten on his shoulder. The man's eyes swept the line. They paused on the boy for a heartbeat, then slid away. Too young, too small, he thought again. But the boy saw something in his smile, a promise that this was not over. Later, when the guests were gone and the hall was empty, the trap closed. 2 guards came to the kitchen with a folded piece of paper. Maria, one said coldly, come with us. We found your fingerprints on missing items. The boy jumped to his feet. That's a lie. She didn't. The guard grabbed his arm roughly. Quiet, boy. This is adult business. His mother shook her head, her voice shaking. No. I have done nothing. I have served this house for years. You know me. Then you won't mind explaining yourself to the police, the guard said. The boy's heart hammered. He remembered the warning, next time, it will be the police. This was the next time. As they led his mother away, he felt a surge of helpless rage. His small hands clenched, but he knew if he fought, they would drag him too. That night, the journalist called from a blocked number. They moved fast, she said. I saw the report, they are accusing your mother of theft. They are lying, the boy said, his voice trembling. She is innocent. I know, the journalist said. They are trying to scare you both, to make you stay silent. But listen to me, the real contract is hidden in their main office safe. If we can get that, everything ends. The boy swallowed hard. They will arrest her. Not if we get proof before they act, the journalist replied. Tomorrow, a lawyer from the workers' union will come. He believes your story. But we need more. The boy looked out the window. Rain was still falling. Somewhere in the dark garden, a car's headlights flashed briefly, then went off. He didn't know if it was a guard or someone worse. The next day, the trap tightened again. Police came, not with sirens, but quietly, like wolves in the fog. They searched the servant quarters. Drawers opened. Boxes were turned over. The boy stood by the door, his fists shaking. A tall officer knelt to his level. You're Maria's boy, aren't you? Did you see your mother take anything? The boy stared at him. She didn't steal. You are protecting thieves. The officer's smile was thin. Careful with your words. You're just a child. The boy said nothing more, but inside, a storm was building. They were not just trying to silence him, they wanted to break him. That evening, as the rain eased, a quiet knock came at the servant door. The boy opened it. A man in a gray coat stood there, carrying a black folder. Are you the boy? The man asked softly. Yes. The man stepped inside and closed the door behind him. I'm from the workers' union. The journalist told me everything. You are brave. The boy lowered his eyes. They have my mother. They will send her to jail. Not if we move quickly, the man said. He opened the folder. Inside were copies of bank transfers, shell company names, and one empty space where the real signed contract should have been. This is almost enough. One more piece, and they cannot escape. The boy nodded. I know where it is. The man smiled faintly. Then tomorrow night, we take it. But the mansion was not asleep. From a camera hidden in the hallway, the crooked tie man watched the servant door close. He saw the boy. He saw the folder. And his cold smile returned. Prepare the documents, he told his assistant. Tomorrow, we catch a little rat. Night came heavy and silent. The boy sat beside his mother's empty bed, holding the phone and the union lawyer's card. He thought of her alone in the cold office where they kept her, scared but silent. He thought of the workers who would lose their money. He thought of the journalist who had risked her job for his whisper. He stood up. His hands no longer shook. They think I'm small, he said to himself. Let them think that. In the distance, a car door closed softly. Footsteps echoed in the wet garden. The trap was ready. But so was he. The mansion was no longer filled with music. The air smelled of fear, of paper burning somewhere in a locked room. Doors slammed, phones rang, and the once smiling men now spoke in harsh whispers. The boy moved like a shadow between the servants' hallways, his heart racing but his steps steady. The lawyer had left before dawn with the evidence he could gather, and the journalist had promised, by sunrise, the truth will start to spread. Sunrise came, and with it came noise. Phones buzzed. Screens lit up. News sites posted headlines, whispers of a $500 million scam, workers warned to stay alert. It wasn't the full story yet, but it was enough. The seed was planted. By noon, social media caught fire. Hashtags climbed, hashtag this contract is wrong, and hashtag stop the scam appeared on every feed. Workers from nearby factories began to ask questions. Some even gathered outside the gates, holding small signs, their faces angry but unsure. Inside, the crooked tie man shouted at his staff. "Who leaked this? Who?" His eyes burned, his face red. Papers were thrown, calls made to shut down the news, but the story was already running. It was too late to stop the wind. The boy watched from the shadows, his small hands gripping the old phone tighter. The recording he had made now played on news channels. His small voice wasn't in it, but the man's words were. Offshore accounts. Ghost companies. A plan to drain $500 million. He wanted to smile. But then he remembered his mother, still locked in the back office, accused of theft she never committed. That afternoon, cars began to arrive again, but they were not the same shiny cars from the night of the party. These were reporters' vans, workers' trucks, even a few government vehicles. Security guards tried to block the gates, but the crowd outside was growing. From the top balcony, the crooked tie man looked down with a twisted grin. "Fools," he muttered. "They think noise will change anything." Behind him, his assistant whispered, "Sir, the police are asking for the full contract copy. They say they received complaints." "Then give them nothing," the man snapped. "Delay. Tell them it's confidential." But his voice was less confident now. His phone wouldn't stop ringing. Investors were calling, demanding answers. Some threatened to pull out. The boy slipped past two guards and reached the servants' quarters. The lawyer was waiting with a folded newspaper in his hand. "It's working," he said quietly. "They can't hide it anymore. But we need the final strike." The boy nodded. "I can get you the contract." The lawyer looked at him sharply. "You already risked too much." "I have to," the boy said. "They blamed my mother. This is the only way." The lawyer placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then tonight, we finish this." Night fell, but the mansion did not sleep. Guards patrolled the halls, their radios crackling. The crooked tie man was still awake, pacing his office like a restless wolf. Papers burned in the fireplace, contracts, invoices, anything that could expose him. Down in the servant kitchen, the boy moved quietly. He knew the path now, the main office, second floor, the safe behind the false painting. He had seen the code once, written on a scrap of paper the assistant had left on the desk. He waited until the hallway was clear, then crept up the stairs, every creak sounding like thunder in his ears. Outside, the crowd had doubled. Workers were chanting now, their voices echoing off the stone walls, "Open the books. Show the truth." Reporters filmed live, their cameras flashing. The crooked tie man stepped out once to shout at them, but their noise drowned his words. He slammed the balcony door and cursed under his breath. His hand shook as he called his banker. "Move the money now." "I don't care how, just move it." But it was already too late. Somewhere in the city, federal agents were watching the same headlines. The union lawyer had sent them the first batch of evidence. And one phrase stood out in every report: "This contract is wrong." The boy reached the office door. His heart pounded so loud he feared it would give him away. He slipped inside, closed the door softly, and stood still in the dark. The safe was there, hidden behind the painting of the company founder. He climbed onto the chair, reached for the frame, and pulled. It swung open with a quiet click. The code. What was it? His fingers trembled as he remembered the numbers: 3, 7, 5, 1, 2. The dial turned. The safe clicked open. Inside, stacks of papers gleamed under a small light. And there it was, the contract, stamped, signed, with all the fake names and the crooked stamp still wet from the night of the party. He slipped it into his jacket. But then, footsteps. The door burst open. A beam of light cut the darkness. The crooked tie man stood there, his shadow long and sharp. "Well, well," he said quietly. "The little rat." The boy froze. "You thought you could outsmart me?" The man stepped forward, his smile cold. "You and that reporter. You ruined a good night for powerful people." He reached for the boy's arm, but before he could grab him, a loud voice echoed from outside, "Open this door." "Federal warrant." The man's face turned white. The boy ran. Chaos followed. Agents stormed in. Reporters rushed the hallways. Workers pushed past the gates, their voices now a roar. Documents were seized, computers unplugged, files carried out in black boxes. The crooked tie man shouted for his lawyers, but no one answered. His assistants vanished one by one, slipping away like rats from a sinking ship. In the middle of it all, the boy stood in the corridor, clutching the contract. A federal agent knelt beside him. "Where did you get this?" "From the safe," the boy said simply. "My mother didn't steal anything." "They did." The agent looked at the papers, his eyes hardening. "This is enough. They won't escape now." By dawn, the mansion was silent again, but in a different way. Not rich, not proud, empty, broken. The boy found his mother in the back office, her hands still tied, tears on her cheeks. "Mama," he whispered, showing her the contract. "It's over." She hugged him tight, her body shaking. "Oh, my brave son, you did what even grown men could not." Morning sunlight spilled over the city like a quiet promise. The mansion that once shined with gold and greed now stood hollow, its doors wide open, its carpets stained with the footprints of agents and reporters. Trucks loaded with seized files rolled out of the gates. The big banners celebrating the historic contract had been torn down, leaving empty hooks on the walls. The boy walked slowly through the empty hall, his mother's hand in his. She was free now, no more locked doors, no more false accusations. The police had cleared her name. The truth was out. Federal agents nodded as they passed the pair. "You did well," one said quietly to the boy. Most adults would have stayed silent. The boy looked down at his worn shoes. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt tired, his small heart still heavy from the nights of fear. "I only told the truth," he said softly. His mother squeezed his hand. "Sometimes, my son, that is the bravest thing a person can do." By noon, the news had spread everywhere. TV channels ran breaking stories, $500 million scam exposed, secret deal collapses overnight. Workers who had been on the edge of losing their savings cheered in factories. Investors who almost signed their lives away thanked the nameless whistleblower who saved them. The journalists stood before the cameras outside the gates, speaking firmly. This was not the work of lawyers or rich men. This started with a boy who whispered the truth when no one else dared. Reporters asked, "Who is he? What's his name?" The boy watched from a window upstairs. His mother shook her head gently. "Do you want them to know it was you?" He thought for a long moment. He remembered the dark cars, the threats, the way they had tried to crush them. Fame was not what he wanted. "No," he whispered. "I just want people to know the contract was wrong." That evening, they left the mansion behind. The owners were under investigation. Their faces, once proud and polished, now flashed on TV screens with the word scammer beneath. Their empire had fallen in a single week. Outside the gates, workers clapped as the boy and his mother walked past. Someone handed her a bag of fresh bread, saying, "For your courage." Someone else patted the boy's head. "Thank you, kid. You saved our jobs." He didn't know what to say. So he just smiled shyly and kept walking. Days turned into weeks. The story refused to die. The crooked tie man was arrested trying to leave the country. His accounts were frozen. The fake companies vanished like smoke. Federal lawyers promised that most of the stolen money would return to the workers and small investors. The journalist visited them one afternoon with a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter from a community school. "We offer a full scholarship for the boy who spoke the truth." His mother cried when she read it. "You will go to school, not clean floors like me." The boy looked at her. "Mama, you cleaned floors so I could stand tall. Now I want to learn so I can help others." She hugged him tightly. Months later, in a small ceremony at the city hall, the union lawyer invited him to stand on the stage. Cameras flashed. Reporters waited for him to speak. He held the microphone with both hands, his voice still quiet but steady. "I am not special," he said. "I am just a boy who saw something wrong and said it. My mother taught me that silence can protect you, but sometimes, silence protects the wrong people. If you see something wrong, speak. Even if your voice shakes." The room was silent for a moment. Then applause rose, not loud like a party, but deep like respect. The mansion was sold to pay debts. The Golden Hall became a warehouse for honest trade. The fake contract that once promised greed now lay in a glass file at the federal office, marked, "Evidence, case closed." Sometimes, the boy would pass by on his way to school. He would stop at the gate, look at the empty building, and remember the night he wrote those words on a napkin: "This contract is wrong." A whisper had started a storm. And that storm had washed away a kingdom of lies. His mother would call him from the street. "Come on, we're late." He would run to her side, his bag bouncing on his back, his steps light. The world was still big, still full of people who lied, cheated, and stole. But now he knew truth could fight them. Even a small voice could shake the walls of the powerful. And sometimes, that was all the world needed.